Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Welcome one and all to a weapon that needs very little in terms of introduction, the Groza. The Groza is, well, it's Russian, I believe, for thunderstorm, or Polish or Romanian. I am not what you would call a linguistics expert. I put more time into my PUBG Mobile than I do into Duolingo. But even then, I still get absolutely mind shagged trying to pronounce this thing because I know I do it so badly. Let's move on and just, you know what I'm talking about. 7.62 comes in an airdrop, wrecks people into little bits. The Groza is a weapon that I have, hit that guy's pen at AWM. Groza got you covered. The Groza is a weapon that has really been at the top of the peak of PUBG Mobile or very close to for an awfully long time. It's always been in an airdrop and it's never been more readily available than it is nowadays. I recently did a video where I counted over 100 crates and the contents therein. And the big dog here, the Groza, was one of the most common. The 7.62s were all pretty common. The gun that got left the most in crates, by the way, was the FAMAS. I counted that in those crates as well. And I should probably have done a video illustrating that, but I didn't. This is a 7.62 weapon, and it really does stick to the theme that comes up in your crate weapons generally. It gives you what you get from your basic world drop weapon that is a 7.62 weapon. What about this? This guy, I actually kill him, but the car that he's been shooting blows up behind me after I knock him. It's like, just me and my three buddies hanging out down the bottom. And it really sticks to the theme. So it's the same base damage of your AKM, 47.9. Very similar base damage to the DP28. Slightly more than the M762 and the Ace 32. But where it really excels is obviously in rate of fire. As you can see here, it's like some maddened hydraulic press when it's got a suppressor on it. It's just, sounds absolutely gorgeous. And it's a strike, it's a sound that strikes fear on the battlefield into the hearts of your enemies. Contrary to popular opinion, and I know this might seem a bit weird having to talk about this, the recoil on this gun is not terrible at all. I think a lot of people who run this gun and run it poorly have not set the weapon up because, let's be honest, most of the people I see in the cheer park or, you know, in those kind of situations practicing with their guns, shifting their sensitivity around, are not doing it with AKs and Grozas. They're doing it with M416s. And because of that, I think this gun doesn't get nearly the praise and definitely the worship that it deserves. It's a hell of a weapon that, no holds barred, gives you confidence to push. Now, the rate of fire is something that is quite spectacular. Your fastest AR rate of fire is the FAMAS. I mean, no one likes it. It gets left in a crate by everyone. And one day they'll probably pull it and we'll all rejoice. And they'll put the DBS back in. And I'll particularly rejoice. That would be good. It has 938 rounds a minute, but only has a paltry 38.9 base damage to a chest area and 87.3 base damage to a headshot. The Groza hits for 779 rounds per minute, but does 47.9 base to a chest and a whopping 110.1 damage to a headshot. That means the Groza is one of the few ARs that will actually, well, it's not one of the few. There are actually a few of them, but they're all 7.62 guns that will actually headshot people out if they're not wearing a helmet. And you can see just how effective it is there as we hit headshots on people that are running through the car. That means even with a level 1 helmet, you're going to be doing massive amounts of damage. A Groza will do 77 base damage into a level 1 helmet. And it fires so quickly that really there's no excuses. If you're using this gun, you should be rocketing it in CQC. So why don't more people run this behemoth? Well, let's break it down. The things that it competes against are primary slot weapons. If you're like me, the Groza is 100% a primary slot weapon. And really, you'd be mad to use it for anything else. Its spray ability is negligible. You cannot alter the recoil at all. The only attachment you can put on this thing is a suppressor. And as we know, suppressors aren't exactly what you want to run if you're trying to minimize recoil. You want to run a compensator, you want to run a muzzle brake, and if you want to be spraying and have a little bit of a sneaky profile, you're going to run a flash hider. So you get some recoil compensation, and they also can't see where the spray's coming from immediately. But the Groza can't do any of that, and it can't mount a lower rail attachment. So what you're relying upon is your fingers to control the recoil. And what you're also dealing with is 7.62 bullet velocity. Unlike the 5.56 ARs, the Groza's bullet velocity is very pedestrian. It's at 714 meters a second, which is pretty much in line with everything else that you'd expect. And we did a lot of testing, and that's 100% the speed at 500 meters a second, at 500 meters. However, at 100 meters, it does seem to go a little bit quicker. And I think that's more because I haven't tested it at 120 frames per second. Once you test it at a higher frame, I feel like I'm going to get a more accurate result. And I'll get back to that. I'm testing all the guns again this week. But 740 seconds, 14 meters a second compared to your 5.56 ARs, which are all running nowadays at 877 meters a second, is not a lot. The FAMAS is the notable exception there. It's running at 943 meters a second. But even that's not enough to make up for the horrific reload time, the low magazine count, the high rate of fire that means you have to reload a lot and you can't put a big magazine in it anyway. It's just a train wreck of a gun. The time to kill on the Groza is also outstanding. 0.231 seconds to clear a level 2 vest in very close proximity. Now that is an arbitrary number, but it's not like some of the other guns where if they're wearing level 3 armor, it's like a bad thing. If you're wearing level 3 armor, it doesn't stop this gun from dominating. It's massive alpha damage and alpha strike, meaning at 0 seconds, when both guns, say an M416 and a Groza, press the trigger, the absolute best case scenario outcome for an M4 is 40.9 base damage to a chest, whereas the Groza is 47.9. And that's only getting worse. Like the longer you fire it, the bigger the damage output disparity is between the Groza and a 5.56 AR.
Marked a location.
It's certainly something that always interests me, the way people don't put enough time into this weapon. And I have found Grozas in crates. Not often, but I do find them. And I think if you're not a 7.62 player, like I am primarily 7.62, always running 7.62. AKMs, M762s, MG3s, DP28s. I love 7.62. If you're not a big believer in that alpha strike, then you don't really love this gun enough. Its hip fire isn't great. And that's probably, if I'm honest, the weakest point. Its strongest point is this kind of engagement right here, where you're dealing with sharp ADSing in the mid-range, 30-meter kind of range, where you're using a red dot. You can just get so much value for money out of this gun when you are running that red dot and really using that ADS. There you go. Enjoy. Love that mechanic. Who didn't love that mechanic? My God, I'm glad that one's over. Anyway, there's a lot more weapon review videos coming, but if you have one in particular that you like, please let me know. I am more than happy to do particular videos based on public outcry. Apart from you, Johnny Barry, I'm not doing the M249 anytime soon, and I don't care how many super chats you send me in the YouTube streams. Until next time, please remember to like video and subscribe. No, I will do an M249 video. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Awesome.